Some more specific questions about building these applications include the following. One kind of question is, how do the clients know what capabilities are available to them? One approach which is typically used is naming. That is, the client has the IP address or URL of server technology, okay, and it essentially finds that service by providing that name. You can think of this as white pages in the telephone sense. An alternative to this approach is a client saying, I have a need for service X, and being able to try to find various resources that can provide that service. That's similar to a Yellow Pages lookup. Some Yellow Pages technology have come out, but it hasn't proven quite as successful as maybe we had hoped. Second research question has to do with use of reflection and meta-object protocols. Recall that I mentioned that data can sometimes be self-defining. That is, the data itself reflects or represents its own structure. The same thing can hold with respect to programs. That is, programs knowing what kind of services they provide, even knowing how they deal with non-functional considerations, how many transactions can they provide in a given unit of time, and so on. Third category of questions has to do with data representations. For the past 20 years, relational databases have dominated the world, but now there's a recognition that one size does not fit all, that different kinds of applications might require different kinds of organizations for the data. Okay, this movement is sometimes called the NoSQL movement, and there's various commercial even solutions out there that you can consider in building your applications. Another question is fat versus thin, particularly fat versus thin clients. Now, this question has actually been with us for a long time. When we had applets originally developed by Java, the idea was that the client, that is the web browser, would download functionality as needed, be able to try to provide as much functionality close to the user as possible. This is sometimes called a fat client. The other extreme is to say, let's make the client as thin as possible. That is, all it is really a user interface. Now, we've gone back and forth between fat and thin clients. Ajax is a way of being able to reduce the overhead of client-to-server messaging, in particular client-to-server when a whole page is being rewritten. Ajax is a way of making local changes to web pages without necessarily having full server interaction. Another class of questions has to do with the different kinds of devices that are now parts of distributed systems. Sometimes those devices are relatively constrained by their power consumption and batteries, which might mean that their memories and their chips are going to be smaller or slower, in which case the overall device is going to be somewhat limited. That might be a reason to have a thinner client on it. Related to that is the whole question of mobility. If part of the application, if the client side of the application is moving around, what happens if it all of a sudden it goes in a tunnel, right, and you can't reach it? Your system then has to be more robust with dealing with that kind of uncertainty.